Hi, and welcome to Anthony and Joey's Crazy Project. That is a look at the Latinx BIPOC Pop Lab Symposium that took place March 10th and 11th, I believe, if I got those dates right. It may be 11th. Yeah, 10th and 11th. And we're here with Frederick Lewis Aldama, Professor X. And we're here with Sam Sosa and or Savayo Sosa and Anthony Ramirez. And we're really excited to just kind of talk a little bit about how that event went down. Anthony and I were blown away by y'all's event. And one, thank you all so much for agreeing to meet up with us post event. I know it took us a little bit of time, but here we are. And we're just gonna dive right into it. I know we've got like a hard time we got to meet, but this was just a really exciting event for us to attend and be a part of. I don't know, Anthony, do you want to start with a question, or I can do it either way?
I'm just curious, like, what inspired the event to come together for you, Dr. Alama?
Oh, yeah, good question. So when I had my foot out the door for the Ohio State University to join the University of Texas, Austin, I knew that I wanted to bring some of what I had done at OSU to UT Austin, and that was what I had done, among other things, was SoulCon. So the Brown and Black Comics Expo. Then we, over time, about 7 years, kind of grew it, and it became a kind of epicenter in the Midwest for creatives of color to come together, expo their work, workshop their work, K through 12, kiddos coming to the campus. And it was pretty incredible. I knew that I wanted to do something there at UT. So early in my thinking about the Pop Lab, the Latinx Pop Lab, which is, in Patton Hall, where we also hosted the BIPOC Pop, I was like, okay, yeah, it's BIPOC Pop, but I don't want it just to be comics, the comic arts, of course, but also animation, multimedia, storytelling and gaming. And so I expanded the vision. And then Sam and I kind of started thinking about it over last summer, how it would look, and then really kind of putting it into play just before Christmas, realizing that we would kind of slim it down from a 4-day event to 2 days and really focus on bringing together scholars, industry folk, and also, of course, creatives, BIPOC, within all of these different storytelling spaces, and really create this synergy, this kind of incubator, or what I call a collaboratory, Latinx collaboratory for exchange and innovation over 2 full days.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and so Sam, what was that like jumping onto this ride, you know, as a graduate student and kind of just coming into it?
It was definitely an experience. I like to say that I was at the right place at the right time. I was accepted into UT at the same time that Dr. Aldama was making the transition from Ohio State. So knowing that I wanted to do comics, I reached out to him right away once I was accepted, and we started working together on how to do these really cool things. So as a grad student, I feel like I've had really great experience in terms of learning how to run big events and how to talk to industry people. Because before this, the only experience I really had was talking to academics. So that's kind of how it was for me as a grad student.
Yeah, as an attendee, I have put on conferences that are like this, but I hadn't seen other small conferences like this where it's very, very personable and very, very connected in terms of community. And one of the other things that Anthony and I really reflected on was just the fact that, this wasn't even just like a local thing. I mean, you had people from all over the nation come together. A lot of them spoke about SoulCon and the influence and impact it had on them. And I'm one of the things that I'm interested in, because I'm real interested in pedagogy and andragogy and community building and alternative ways of learning and the collegiate experience, is, you know, how do you think you foster those intangibles, Frederick? And then, you know, after that, Sam, like, you know, how did you interpret it, and was, you know, had you experienced something like this before too as an organizer?
Yeah, those are great questions. So for me, as just as I know for all of us here in this space, there is no there there is no wall between the classroom and everything else that I do, right? So, I mean, you know, BIPOC pop for 2 days is classroom, right, for us. And classroom for me is not just learning, which is really, of course, very important, and getting kind of sort of finding our way through discovery to knowledge and knowledge making. And of course, you know, as a professor, having, you know, many more years than my students, guiding them to that place of discovery. So, you know, but that was also happening at BIPOC Pop for all of us. And the other thing that's really important to me is talking across disciplines and seeing where we can learn across disciplines, seeing how we can learn from the creatives themselves being in the room with us, and folks, you know, in industry, you know, because otherwise we get a really lopsided, one-sided view of things. Like if we're just sitting around theorizing, you know, that first of all has never been that interesting to me, right?
Yeah.
Theory for theory's sake.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then finally, let me just say this: like, I think it's really important to create these. Joey, you and I are in positions where we can provide the resources, as well as open and clear the spaces for our students to be actively in these knowledge making, innovative storytelling, you know, incubators. Also trusting that they can run with things and not, you know, always feel like we have to be around with, you know, coddling and so on and so forth. That, you know, this thing that Netflix has just run with these toddlers in Japan that go run errands for their parents. And I'm not comparing our graduate students to toddlers, but what I am saying is that we need to trust that our students are smart and will figure it out, and, you know, and not just handhold, or on the opposite side of things, completely kind of ignore. So I think, you know, creating a BIPOC pop is a really proactive way of doing that, and bringing our graduate students and undergraduate students from all over to engage in this space.
Cool.
I think a lot of the graduate students that came to help out were blown away that this kind of thing was happening. And, you know, I had classmates, friends come from different disciplines. We had people from the information school. We had people from sociology that were coming in and helping, and they were blown away that they got so much out of it for their own discipline, which was really awesome to see. So like, as someone who helped organize, I like to hear those stories. I also liked to hear how people felt this sense of community, especially because we don't have a lot of spaces like this. So that was also super exciting to hear about. For me, I have community, and I'm grateful for that because of spaces like this. So that, you know, needless to say, this is very much needed, and I'm so glad that we're going to keep going. And I love seeing all the other events that are happening both in universities and outside of universities that are bringing together BIPOC creatives and authors and poets and doing this kind of work and allowing us to be together and vulnerable together and to share together without the fear of being judged or being othered. So that's really awesome too.
I'd like to add to that really quick. Speaking of the sense of like community and the sense of vulnerability and stuff, personally, I had that experience with BIPOC pop, and I was just interested in hearing your all opinion about this idea of it being a safe space for us, because it really did feel like a super safe space for each and every one of us there, including whether you were a graduate student or a professional or an academic who's been there for years. It became a safe space for us to really let our emotions out. Like personally, I cried. I did. I'm not even gonna lie. And it just it was one of those things that is just like surreal, but also just, man, I felt so comfortable with everybody there that I was happy to let out my emotions, and it's just like those are hard spaces to create. So the fact that you all were able to create a space like that you felt that comunidad, you felt that warmness from everybody there, and it was just a really powerful experience. But on a different note, I'm just curious, like, what are your plans for the future of BIPOC pop? Because I know that you all are already thinking about the next event, and so I'm curious, like, what are your plans, and what's the future of BIPOC pop?
Yeah. So I think, Sam and all of us actually here in this space have talked about 9th and 10th March 2023. It's already on the calendar.
We saw it on the website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it got kind of,
we were doing our research and we were like, wow, okay, it's already like that was the old one. This is the new one.
Yep.
Dang.
So one of the things that is on this, also on the vision plan, the horizon for 2023, is to have, well, almost like we did with the LatinX Pop Lab Consortium, the LatinX Consortium Collaboratory, where we have a menu of workshops. So we will have panels, but we are also going to be, one of the reasons why we didn't do workshops for 2022 is that we're still in the pandemic. And we wanted to be respectful and mindful of course, that, and be safe. And the best way to be safe, is to have panels and to have an audience and have kind of social distancing. Workshops are a lot harder for that. So 2023, we're really hopeful. And those workshops will not only be, for instance, Anthony and Joey, either running them or signing up for them, or both. Anthony, maybe because I know you're big into gaming and you've theorized gaming, but maybe you want to kind of learn more about the actual kind of making of story through gaming, or even through comics, art, etc. So that also K through 12. So there is going to be a real focus on bringing in not just kiddos, but we're going to focus on the teachers. And we're going to bring in as many librarians and teachers from our public schools in Austin locally as we can manage, and do workshops on how to bring this into classrooms, not just comics, but animation, multimedia arts, etc. And also connect those teachers with creatives, so that it's not just the teacher kind of bringing this into the classrooms, but also being able to zoom in, create BIPOC creatives from around the country, to meet the students, to role model, to all of those things. So that's going to be 2023. The big thing will be workshops, and with an especial kind of focus on how to bring the stuff into the classroom.
Are you also going to continue having a larger marketplace? Because I think that was one of the things that Joey and I really enjoyed.
Yeah, so under the radar, we're going to be doing more of that. So again, yes, pushing around the corner on this pandemic, we're going to be able to be much more kind of open about that public facing expo part that we weren't able, of course, this last iteration, although, it was pretty rocket. So, so just to give you guys an idea of the kind of physical layout, instead of a small breakout workshop space for our expo folks or those who want to expo, we're going to have that other huge room, that symposium conference room that will be dedicated to expo.
Fantastic.
Wow. So I wanted to go back for a second to Anthony when you were talking about the experience at the conference. One of the things, because like we've been talking about this conference since it happened, all the way till yesterday, and right before this meeting, was we were talking with Hector Garza, and one of the things that we kind of realized was that I'm all about intangibles. In college, I feel like, yes, we have rubrics and tests and all that stuff, but like there's just so much to intangibles. And one of the things about the area that you really reached into in an intangible way was having people that, whether they were the biggest fish in the scene or the smallest fish in the scene, were happy to talk to each other and celebrate each other's work. And I just was wondering, like, is that something you think you do consciously, or is that something that you put effort into? Because it was definitely reflected in hearing other people's reactions. I mean, when I was doing the post-exit interviews with people and hearing what they had to say, that was definitely a theme. And it's something I've always tried to do, but like seeing you pull that off was really, really cool. And I just didn't know if you and Sam had any thoughts on how that occurred.
Yeah, let me just jump in and say, I mean, I know, Joey, you're super mindful of this, and Anthony as well. But, one thing that I don't like about cons, Comic Cons, Wonder Cons, etc., is that there is built in a kind of star system. And, that has always bothered me. So you have all these incredible exhibitors, but then you've got like the star that's invited, and the star gets paid gobs of money, and the exhibitors don't get paid anything, or get paid minimally to help them get there. And that's just not in my my personhood. It's like, in fact, it's the opposite. It makes me kind of angry. And so I mean, you can go ahead and like have a special guest, etc. But I mean, really, like we're all in this together. And if you need to have that carrot of being a special guest, then probably not BIPOC pop for you, right? So, I think, Joey, you're right. I mean, it kind of self-selects in people that, no matter where you are in your career, no matter how much attention you have on your work at that point in your career, it selects in people who are genuinely interested in being with other people who are people, and excited and invested in kind of knowledge making and innovation within this space.
You want to add anything, Sam?
I don't know. This is the first time I've ever really been around industry people. And so I didn't know what to expect, and everyone was just so warm. And I got the same sense, like everyone wanted to be together, which was awesome, and is something that I've never felt with such a, to me, this was a big event. With such a big event. I also don't like the star setup, because then you take away attention from the other people. And I want this to be an equal playing field. Like everyone is doing important work, and everyone needs to be showcased. Everyone's work matters. So I guess that's all I really have to add for that one.
Cool. Yeah, no, I just like Anthony and I have been tearing this event apart piece by piece, brick by brick, conversation by conversation, because, you know, I love alternative pedagogy and andragogy and new ways of teaching. And, you know, I implement a lot of what I saw you doing. And to get to, I mean, I was literally a fly on the wall there, right? Like literally just brought my camera and flight up onto the scene and shot away. And to see you all doing this was just really, it was cool. It was inspiring. And to have it in Central Texas was definitely a selfish a moment, but a good moment. Did you have a question, Anthony? Or I saw you. Oh, you're good. Okay. So and then for 2023, like I am so excited about what y'all are talking about with opening up the marketplace and then the teacher engagement and alternative storytelling, because one of the hardest things that I'm noticing is that my generation, give or take 10 years, so say 30 to 50 years old, that are educators, you know, we have residuals of having just written and written and written K through 12 and not having done multimedia work, but we have digital natives that we're teaching, whether it's a 5-year-old or 18-year-old or 25-year-old at this point. They all grew up digitally native and they know how to use these multimedia tools. And our curriculum, not our curriculum, but like, you know, the Texas curriculum and K through 12 has not caught up. It's trying to, but it's just not there. So providing a space where you can not only show trajectory in terms of curriculum, but in terms of professionals out there that, especially the like, man, Frederick and Sam, like the people y'all had come, all of them were like, we're happy to talk to your classes. We're happy to Zoom in. We're happy to like show how we do this, like to show the nuts and bolts. So for me, when you were talking about having these people come, it's not like a, so what do you want kind of thing. It's more like a, and I crossed my arms there for the audio people. You know, what is it that we can do to help and empower and have like a reciprocal mentoring relationship where they're learning from these kids? Because I just feel like we're in such a bottom up society right now in terms of talent and newness, where we're not looking from the top to necessarily tell us what to be creating anymore. I don't know, what were y'all's thoughts on some of that?
I mean, all I can say, Joe, is I can't wait for you to run a workshop in 2023. You know, and you know, to be the fly on the wall in that space, because I think our teachers, our librarians, you know, our public school, those at the front lines of our public school system are really hungry for this. And I think that we together can have some real kind of takeaways for our K through 12 teachers that are going to, you know, be transformative for them, for their classrooms, for their students, and also for them to kind of start paying attention maybe a little bit, or having the breathing room to pay attention to just how creative and sophisticated the storytellers are that are already in their classrooms, you know. So a lot of it is, you know, our teachers, it's not just that, you know, maybe they aren't as digitally literate. It's that they haven't had the opportunity really to breathe into those spaces themselves and with their kids, you know.
Yeah, it's just that the old curriculum, it's not even that they don't know how to do these things, it's that they're not even being fostered in that way. Same thing, I mean, same thing at the collegiate level. Let's you know, full disclosure. Like,
That's
it's not
true.
like,
Yeah.
I mean, the collegiate level, man, like you're still having people write these papers and pound them out. And I'm just like, nobody reads these things. I mean, no offense, but you know, people look and watch and see and consume. And you know, it becomes very ivory tower when you start looking at the big papers. So anyways,
Yeah.
well, we want to be
And then,
mindful of your time. I know you got to
yeah.
get going.
Well, look, I mean, one last thing too, which is,
Okay.
you know, let's also look forward to our fall, you know, LatinX creative, critical, collaboratory event. Again,
Yeah.
student facing, and I think that one of the topics for us for that fall event will be, let's hash out a menu for BIPOC Pop.
for sure.
Be
That's a
awesome.
great ideation platform. So, did you want to add
Well,
anything, Sam?
I'm just super excited for all of the work that we're doing and how we're growing. And I'm excited when we finally get our space to have a place where I can physically go and be able to hash all of these ideas out and have y'all come on over. So, there's so many big things that are going to happen, and I can't wait for y'all to join us on this journey.
Well, thank y'all so much for your time, Adama, Sam. Like, just y'all are inspirations for us. So thank y'all.
Thank you all.
likewise.
Thank
Likewise.
y'all.
All right, I'll stop recording. So